So while I'm waiting for parts, we're going to jump into the wiring portion of this job so we can keep moving forward and get things done. Alright, so I laid out the wiring harness for you guys. Let's go through this. I know a lot of people get intimidated by wiring. To me, wiring is not intimidating, but it can be overwhelming if you don't understand where everything is going. So let's kind of get the layout here, and that's going to kind of dictate where everything's going to end up. This is the main two connections that get connected underneath the dash of the main unit. Okay, come around over here. This is our heater control valve set up right here. This is going to pass through the firewall. So all that's going to, this side's going to get mounted underneath the dash in the engine bay. Now here's our programming wire, also going to be underneath the dash. Come around here, we have our ignition wire. We're going to have to find an ignition source to hook that into. This is our backlight wire. Keep on following down the main unit here. Red wire goes to the hot terminal. The two white ones go over to the negative. And they said we want this as close to the battery so we can get it. Okay, now let's go over the Trinary switch. Trinary switch is our safety switch. If you're running an electric fan, you want a trinary. If you're running a mechanical fan, then you just need the binary switch. So this is also not that complicated. Okay, this wire off the main unit goes to the green and black wire, and the other side gets connected to the compressor. So put this back in place here. One wire to the trinary switch, one wire to your compressor. This gets connected to the fan, and that one gets connected to the ground. So while I basically have everything in place before I start fishing everything through here, what it looks like to me is that grommet we got going through the firewall. Everything on this side is going to be mounted underneath the dash. This is going to need to go through the grommet, as well as the one for the heater control valve. It's going to need to go through the grommet, and then everything else is going to be underneath the hood. Now I'm going to have to disconnect one of the wires in here to get everything fished through. So we're going to do that now and see how we turn out. So I'll show you guys real quick. Basically what I did here is everything on that side I preloaded through the grommet. I had to go back and fish the connector for the heater control valve through first because it's the largest thing, and everything else went in okay. And after I paint my firewall block off plate, then I'm just going to try to work this into place with all the wires already through it. Alright, so far so good. I got the main wiring harness, reinstalled the fuse, and then down there you can see I got the little one for the heater control valve. So this is working out well, and got everything else pulled underneath the dash, and as you can see I got the grommet sitting right there. I'll worry about fitting that up into place later. Super important before you start working on anything electrical in your car, good practice for anything for that matter, disconnect that negative terminal. Alright, so I was looking for a good place to mount this. I don't have my kick panel, but I do have my son's 68 out there. I noticed that the kick panel here pretty much rests flat all the way up and basically comes straight across right here all the way up. So anything down here, we got to mount this relay block. It's not really going to work, and I didn't bring it over to my car to look. One of those two holes is actually the mount for the kick hole, so I'll probably be okay moving if necessary, but I mean, something that lays that flat is about probably all you're going to get away with. Now getting up in here now, that's gonna be a little tricky. I could take this out, and yeah, I could probably get my drill up in there. That's a big old pain in the ass, but I think what I'm gonna do is I already pulled off my fender. I could see that I don't have any hidden holes in this piece right here. And I know from pulling this off now and having access to the backside that there is nothing up here that's interfering with what I'm trying to do. So instead of fighting with my drill to try to figure out how to maneuver it up there and get a good mounting point, I'm going to figure out where I want that relay block mounted. I'm going to drill it through this side and then mount my screw in from the back side. Alright, so I hope you can see this. Right here I got a little kind of triangular impression. I'm going to mount it just above the bottom of my dash here. I think if I put it there, if I need to get in with the screwdriver right here to ever service this, to pull off the relay and swap it, it'll be really easy because it clears the main unit here. And then I'll probably put the ground wire somewhere here after I get this mounted and kind of establish where the wires look like they want to hang. Alright, so a lot of time on this project so far I've used number 10 or number 12 self-tapping sheet metal screws to do my grounds. I tend to lean towards the smallest one just because they're a little more compatible with the wires usually. You know, it's hard to fit that big ol' number 12 through there. It's not going to work. So we're going to drill that out. I might have to go to the hardware store and get some slightly longer ones. I've been getting away along with these pretty well, but I got coating on this, so we'll see how it works out. Alright, so we're going to start up here, just to kind of give you guys a little drive-by. Point out, you can't really see it when you're down level with the dash. Come up underneath here, then it's nice and hidden, but it's still easily accessible. So I haven't done anything else. This kind of looks like a mess right here. I'm going to use some of this cloth tape. I'm going to wrap it up real quick and show you guys what it looks like. Those are the same exact connections we were looking at about 2 seconds ago, just wrapped in cloth tape. I just want to point out how just keeping your project organized, as soon as you kind of establish like certain ones have to go a certain direction, wrap them up, kind of get them running down the wire the way you want them to. Just makes a big difference, makes it a lot simpler, makes the project go a lot faster, and gives you a lot cleaner result. Alright, so I already figured out that these are wrapped pretty nice. These both are going to the same place. So every 6 inches or so, I'm just going to put a little wrap on this, route that up, I don't know if you can see it or not, to that loop here, and make everything be able to connect right here. Now this is probably going to be hard to see, but everything from the relay box back comes up through those wires right there, mounts to that wiring harness point, and plugs in right there. Alright, so I think I got this under the dash business figured out. This tan color wire, this only applies if you're using Vintage Air's special little controller panel. It's not even available for this year of Mustang, so we're gonna wrap that up, forget about it. Okay, the purple wire, I'm gonna hook this to this brown wire as my ignition source. This is a wire that's labeled, I don't know if you can see it or not, heater feed, heater AC feed. This is part of my American Auto Wire wiring harness, so that's going to connect straight to that. It's on a 30 amp fuse, and I'm probably going to attach my pigtail right here, as long as it reaches, to do my programming wire. And then I'm going to drill one more hole back here to put my ground, because that ground, there's no way for me to share that. So I'm going to get it done and show you guys how it turned out. Alright, so let's see if I can get my hand in here. This turned out really good. I got my ground screw, drilled it from the back side, just how we did this one. Mounted the relay in its location. I put the connections on for the heater AC wire. They're 2 different color connectors because they're 2 different gauge wires. You want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. And ignore this white wire because it's not even part of our system here. As you can see, everything's tucked up nice, out of the way. Can't see a single wire. And also, I put in the programming wire right here, so when I'm ready to do that, it reaches nice, and I can just stuff it back here and hide it. So I went ahead and hooked up the heater control valve That's the only physical connection that's right at the firewall. And I'll show you guys just on the outside how those screws turned out. So I told you guys, once you get organized, wiring's not intimidating. All I have left is to hook up my battery connections and then the trinary switch. Alright, so let's get this trinary switch installed. I already went ahead and broke this loose real quick off camera. Remember, this is a sealed part of the system that you don't want anything to really leave exposed to the elements for any time, because it's going to suck up all the moisture and clog it before you ever get to use it. So we do this, we just get it done and reseal it. Now, just to remind anybody that might have skipped ahead or not seen the original video when I installed the dryer and the condenser, that end's capped and this end's capped, so there's no way for me to draw any moisture into the system right now. So let's talk about wiring this trinary switch here real quick. You got two sets of wires. You got the blue set and you got the green and black set. The green and black set control your high-low pressure cutoff, and the blue set controls the fan. So one side of the green and black set goes to the relay we mounted underneath the dash. The other side goes to the hot wire for the compressor. As soon as the pressure gets below 30 psi or above 406, the switch cuts itself off and you no longer have power to the compressor. This side over here, one side gets mounted to ground, the other side gets mounted to your fan relay, and if the pressure gets above 254 psi, it turns the fan on. So I'm going to put this waterproof connector that I got off Amazon on here, hook everything up, and then I'll show you guys where I run the wiring to. Alright, so this wasn't meant to be a soldering lesson. Hey, but you know, if you guys want one, leave it in the comments and maybe I'll do a video on that. And I'm going to end up tucking this back into this loom here, and off camera I'm going to get the other stuff set up, and then I'm going to show you guys what I did. Alright, so let me point out something I just figured out. Okay, so a switch technically does nothing more than just complete a circuit or kind of bridge 2 points, if you will, right? On the vintage error diagram they gave us, they have the 85 on the relay going to the 12 volt key on ignition source, and 86 going to all of the grounds, like our fan temperature switch over here. It grounds out when it gets to the temperature, completes the circuit, and allows our main power to go through, powering the fan. Okay, American Auto wire is backwards from this diagram. The 86 has the 12 volt, and 85 goes to all of the grounding connections. So hopefully that helps somebody avoid making a mistake. Alright guys, so while I'm finishing up this last ground connection here, I want to point out that I think it's very important when you're doing these cars that you understand how a relay actually functions, so you avoid wiring them up wrong. It could be a quite costly mistake if you mess it up. They're very basic, but you need to understand them. That one, I think if I would have wired it wrong, it just would have always been the ground, making my fans always on. But that's not to say that if I'd make a mistake like that on something else, that it couldn't ruin the part. So one more time before we solder everything up, let's go over where everything is going to. We got the blue wire that comes through our firewall to the relay. Ran that down around here, across the bottom here, and to here. The other blue wire that's going through there just comes up and hooks to our compressor pump. That circuit's complete. The other side, we start here at the black ground pin. You can see where hopefully you can see where I hooked two wires into that connection right there. just added an extra way to activate the relay. It just comes down here. It's gonna hook to one of the blue wires up here, and that goes down, and the other one is just gonna connect to that ground post right there. That's it. This is actually very simple to wire, like I said. Hopefully, you know, every car is a little different, the way you might want to route the wires, but hopefully that helps you guys understand what you're actually doing here. So that's basically what I got right now. I'm gonna come back and shorten up the wires a little later on, get everything into a loom. I still gotta wire up my headlights. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, we're making forward progress on this vehicle, and now we're gonna finish up this wiring, come over and tackle the battery. So I'm gonna leave this big old rat's nest of wiring attached. I'm gonna be swapping engines and adding a blower hopefully in the next 2 weeks. They say sometimes people are able to leave the batteries with that blower in here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to or not, so I don't want to chop these wires. But we're going to go through and attach them right now. Have that done. And I'll show you guys real quick how I do this. Also, I want to point out, you know, I'm sure people might talk trash about these connectors, these little quick connects. I'll tell you what, for me working on this car, it's been kind of an ongoing project for the last probably 2.5 years. These things are friggin' awesome. They're easy to pop off and on real quick. Don't take any tools to do it. And now that I want to add something onto it, all I got to do is pull my bolt out, throw my little connector on there, slide it back in, screw it back on, and we're good to go. So I'm going to get these all crimped up where they go and show you guys what it looks like. Alright guys, so I really enjoyed shooting this series. It's my first time kind of doing a big project like this and filming it for YouTube. Leave me some comments. Let me know what else you guys would like to see. Hopefully I gave you guys some good little tips and tricks I use to help do your own installation. Vintage Air was a great company to work with. They didn't sponsor this video. I supplied everything. But their customer service was great. I really enjoyed working with them. I needed a few parts. Their shipping was pretty quick. Overall, very happy with it. I don't unfortunately get to turn it on yet because I got to do my engine swap. That's in an upcoming video. Hope you guys will stay tuned for that one. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon. Thank you.